States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Claudia? Annette? Barbara?
Here.
Alan?
That was quick.
Tracy Ellen? Stephanie?
Here.
John?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
Al?
Here.
Jonah?
Here.
Melissa? The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this provision of this act, the Riverdale Regional Board of Education has caused notice for this regular meeting to be publicized by having the date, time, and place sent to the Record and the Star Ledger newspapers, the borough clerks and borough libraries, as well as posting in the school district principal offices, faculty rooms, and the board office. According to New Jersey Public Law 2001, Chapter 226, the smoking or use of any tobacco product is strictly prohibited anywhere in the public school buildings or anywhere on school grounds, including but not limited to parking lots, grassy areas, and athletic fields. Violators will be subject to a fine not to exceed $100.
Okay, thank you, Trudy. I'm going to read the mission statement tonight because I didn't have a chance to ask anyone else. The mission of Riverdale Regional School District is to provide a safe, student-centered environment in which each student is valued and respected, to challenge each student to reach their potential, to nurture every student's intellectual, social, physical, and emotional growth, to promote a healthy work ethic, a passion for learning, and a respect for oneself and other, to develop responsible citizens for our diverse community and an ever-changing world, to continue to involve our community in an active partnership, to provide all students the opportunity to achieve and exceed the New Jersey student learning standards. We now come to the public comments on agenda items only. There will be a segment at the end of the meeting to comment on anything else pertaining to the Riverdale Regional School District. If anyone has anything to say about anything on the agenda, please step up to the microphone. We do have one somewhere, I think. Okay. Okay. We have a presentation tonight, but before we get to the presentation, we're going to let the student members present their report so that you can leave after your report. Jonah or Melissa?
All right. So over the past 2 weeks, the high school has been as busy as ever. So on November 2nd, the senior class of 2024 hosted a class fundraiser at Joseph's Pizzeria, located in River Edge. Thank you to all that supported. Congratulations to Christina Allen for winning the Bergen Record Athlete of the Week award for the week of November 2nd. On November 8th, Christina celebrated her commitment to run track and field for the University of Cincinnati on her signing day in the Media Center. Thank you to Dennis Nelson for organizing this event for our accomplished athlete. Additionally, Christina finished in the top 20 in the state of New Jersey for her cross-country state meet of champions on November 11th. Thank you, Christina, for all of her hard work and dedication in representing Riverdale through her amazing high school career. Congratulations to Lucas Jung, Heehyun Kwon, Christopher Yee, Evelyn Beck, Chris Kim, Maya Shanghai Chek, Cameron Carriaga, and Alana Yamaguchi for their successful auditions into the Bergen County Chorus. They'll be a part of a 200-member chorus that will perform at the beginning of January. Riverdale is proud of their talented students. November 3rd was the official opening of the Hawks Art Gallery in the Media Center. We look forward to highlighting student artwork each month. On November 4th, the Riverdale Leo Club protected newly planted trees in Memorial Park by installing deer guards and removing excess mulch at the base of the trees. Thank you to the club members for volunteering their time to make an environmental difference in our community. Congratulations to the Riverdale STEM Club and Robotics team for their competition performance over the weekend on November 4th and 5th. Congratulations to the Riverdale Volleyball team on a bittersweet ending to their fantastic season. Ranked at the 4th seed, the team won in a huge upset away against the 1st-seeded Sparta team in the semifinals round. On November 7th, the Hawks moved on to compete against an fierce Demers team in the finals, where they lost in a close 2-1 match. Congratulations to the entire team for their hard work and efforts this season. In honor of Veterans Day, Interact Club wrote letters and delivered them to the veterans' home in Paramus. Over 200 letters and cards were sent, and the homes expressed lots of gratitude upon receiving them. Thank you to all the students who participated in writing these letters to the veterans and teachers who gave this opportunity to their classes. A special shout out to the National English Honor Society who contributed as well. For upcoming events at the high school, for November 16th to the 19th, the Drama Club will present their seasonal performance of 12 Angry Jurors. Best of luck to the cast, crew, and all of the Riverdale students and staff involved in the successful show. The start of winter sports is right around the corner, starting on November 20th. Good luck to all the winter student athletes on their upcoming seasons.
So now for the middle school report. Congratulations to students on the middle school volleyball team for finishing undefeated and winning their league title November 3rd. The girls defeated Hohokus in 3 sets to finish off their amazing season. Congrats to all the student athletes and coaches, Coach Liberto and Coach Lauterbach. The Spanish National Honor Society continued their efforts honoring different cultures around the globe by creating a wonderful display honoring Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, celebrated in Mexico and other Spanish-speaking countries between October 31st and November 6th. A week later, the organization created a display honoring Diwali, the Festival of Lights, India's biggest and most important holiday of the year. Congratulations to 7th grade student Natalie Vetken for winning the RDMS Spelling Bee November 7th. She will go on to compete at regional scheduled for the spring of 2024 at Bergen Community College. Students from Ms. O'Connor's nutritional living and wellness classes were visited by food safety agents from the U.S. Department of Agriculture on Halloween. They learned about food safety related topics such as food temperatures and length of freezing or refrigerating food. This information will come in handy as Thanksgiving approaches. Ms. Osart's English class met with published author Melissa Elder on November 3rd. She led discussions on poetry, finding inspiration to write, and how the publishing process works. It was a wonderful experience for the RDMS students involved.
Thank you very much. At this time, if you two would like to go home and start your homework. You've seen this presentation a couple of times, and we're going to allow you to leave if you care to tonight.
You can stay if you want.
Thank you. We do have a presentation tonight. Dr. James Albro, along with Frank Massinio from Solutions Architect, will be presenting the proposed referendum.
Stand.
Can we dim these lights a little bit?
We can, yeah. You owe me for that one, by the way. You're welcome. Is that better?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Jim Albro. I haven't met everyone here. I've met probably about half of you, I would say, at this point. But thank you for coming out to learn more about our referendum. We hope we can answer any questions you have. It's about a half-hour presentation. We'll go through the need and kind of how we got to where we are, and talk a lot about the financing and, of course, the projects themselves. So this is Frank Massinio, who's from Solutions Architecture. I'm going to take the beginning of the presentation just to talk about some generalities about it, and Frank will walk you through most of the nuts and bolts of what's actually being proposed as renovation projects. As he is the architect of record for this project, he can best explain that. So here we go. Okay, so what we're proposing is a referendum for capital, infrastructure, and classroom renovations. Am I okay where I'm standing? Right here? Am I in your way? You're good? Okay. Capital, infrastructure, and classroom renovations via a referendum vote on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. Why is it going to a referendum vote? Why is it a special election? It's because anytime you want to go outside of the 2% cap on school budgets, it has to go to the voters. Anything that goes beyond the allowable limits in our school finance has to go to the voters. So that's why it goes to a special election. Our motto is 21st century buildings for 21st century learners. So each year, why now? Each year the school district, the Board of Education, the administrators looks at what we have as far as our facilities and what we need to do to continue to improve and maintain the facilities that we have. That's a process that happens every year, not just when we have a referendum, but every year in general. And in spite of the 2% tax levy cap, the Board of Education has successfully addressed a lot of different building needs over the years. In a couple of slides, I'll outline some of those capital projects for you. The district has probably the third reason why we think this is the right time to do this is the district has a significant debt rolling off the books this year. There was a referendum that was passed about 20 years ago. Some of you may have been around for that. And that expires this year, and that debt will be rolling off. So the board kind of timed this out pretty logically to replace that debt with a lesser debt, which would have a negative or a lesser impact, I should say, not a negative impact, a lesser impact on our debt service payments. So one debt would be rolling off to be replaced with a different debt. And again, why now? All school buildings deal with this at some point. You know, we don't all have the luxury of having brand new school buildings. Our school buildings are very well maintained, but the average age is 50.3 years old between our middle school and our high school, the oldest sections dating back to 1952. And over time, infrastructure items, plumbing, electrical, and things like that can reach the end of their, I guess, projected life. And as needs change in the district and infrastructure needs change in the district, we have to make sure that our infrastructure is up to speed so that we can support all the different things that we want to do, the different technologies that we want to incorporate into our building, whether it be in the classroom or just in infrastructure. We have to prepare for that beyond the 2% cap. So you're going to see the slide again in a couple of minutes when Frank talks to you, but I'm going to address it here. So one important item that I wanted to bring your attention to, I've had experience with referendums in my previous district too, specifically, that were not very much like this. And the reason that I'm very fond of this referendum piece is that we're getting the maximum we can get here in savings from the state of New Jersey. And that's because all of our projects are tied to education and renovations. We're not adding fields, we're not adding other items that would not qualify for a higher percentage of funding from the state. We've maximized, and the board has maximized through careful planning, what they can get, as much bang for their buck as they can get from the state of New Jersey. Because these are all educational or renovation projects, they qualify for the most funding from the state. And Frank will explain that a little bit more for you. But you see in the red column, the 18.7 million represents the total amount that we'll be looking to raise for these projects. 18.7 million is what we estimate these projects will cost. Because they qualify for this high percentage of state aid, $6.4 million of that 18.7 will be provided by the state in the form of debt service aid to the District of Riverdale. And finally, the third column is the actual total after the state aid is included. So what the local taxpayer is responsible for is $12.3 million on an $18.7 million project. So if the referendum passes, and Frank will cover this more, if the referendum passes, we get that state aid. It's already been promised to us. We know we get it if we pass the referendum. So there's no mystery about that number changing. It will be 6.4 million. Okay, so I mentioned before that there are a number of projects that we have incorporated into our capital infrastructure over the last probably more than 10 years, I would imagine. And these are some of those for you, because one of the questions that does come up is, why don't you just take care of these projects out of your own capital budget? That certainly is an option, but it's not something that we can do over like a 2 or 3 year period, because it would just simply cost too much money. But these are projects that have been done over the years. Some of these projects would not qualify for 34% funding from the state, so the board has very strategically planned these projects to come out at different times over the last 10 or so years, so that they could fund them properly, and also they met the needs of our students and the people that are using these facilities. But secure vestibule upgrades in both the middle school and the high school, some branding and graphics, comprehensive facilities health audits, which are done periodically anyway, but more specifically in times of need. I guess COVID would be something that promoted a lot of districts to look at the infrastructure of their buildings and the health infrastructure of their buildings. Of course, the very visible track and turf field replacement, which would probably not qualify for much of any kind of state funding, if any at all, was done out of our capital expenditures a couple of years ago. Electrical upgrades in both buildings to accommodate our HVAC, to accommodate a lot of the different technologies that we have in the district, so that the electricity and the power grid, I should say, can support all the changes that we want to bring into our schools. So, and of course, media center upgrades over at the middle school and the LLD classroom that was added there as well. So every year there are capital projects, and Trudy Angle, our business administrator, could probably explain that better to you. There are a number of capital projects that we kind of take on in our budget according to our long-range facilities plan, which is set up about a 5-year period ahead of time. About these are the projects that we know we want to complete over a period of time. And we, every year, put money from our capital budget into those projects. Okay, so the process, in the beginning, Solutions Architecture was engaged to identify and prioritize what our needs are, what our building improvement needs are. So we, the board, I should say, not we, I wasn't here at the time, but the board brought in Solutions Architecture to look at ways to improve our infrastructure so that we can ensure safe environments for our students, teachable environments for our staff. And we were also challenged Solutions to consider ways to improve our student experience. You know, that's something that we talk about, well, I always talked about in districts that I've worked in, is that our students get more than an education when they come to school. They get an experience. And what they talk about is not their algebra class when they graduate high school. They don't talk about their chemistry class. They talk about their overall experience in high school and in middle school. And we wanted to make sure that we improved the student experiences while they're here in our district, and for those students that we have currently and the ones that will be coming through our schools over the next 20 years. And also work to provide recommendations to the Board of Education. What are the options for us? What options does the board have to complete these projects over the next several years? What would a referendum look like to the Board of Education? So in May of 2022, the district commissioned Solutions to provide a district-wide facilities audit, and they did that. They looked from soup to nuts throughout our entire district, all the infrastructure, on the roofs, in the basements, on the exterior envelope of the building, the grounds, everything. They took everything into consideration. And over the summer of 2022, it took all that information and evaluated it against a number of criteria, looking at CUSAC for the state, which is a state monitoring system, the auditing system for the state. What were the minimum basic requirements for school buildings that were being built? Any new construction, what would be the minimum requirements as a standard? And looking at health and safety, mechanical, engineering and plumbing, that's MEP, right? Thank you. And all what would have to be done in any kind of building renovation project. And that audit represented all of that information. So now about a year ago, that was completed. The district-wide facilities audit was presented to the Board of Education, and it came in at a price tag at $25.6 million. So $18.7 million is what we ended up settling on, about a $7 million difference between the two. So this was soup to nuts, $25.6 million, all the possible things that Solutions said could be done in the district. But the district, I should say the Board of Education was not satisfied with that. They thought that number would be too high and not something that would be palatable to the voters, and something that they could bring across to the voters as something that would be a reasonable expenditure for the future. So concept plans, budget estimates were prepared for all the selected projects, and essentially the board worked over a several-month period to pull out the projects that they felt were much more needed and not so much just wanted. There's a lot of wants that you can find in projects, but the board was very specific about finding projects that were things that we needed in our school district to improve school experience and to improve the education of our students. So this next slide just represents that. These are district needs and not just specifically wants. We want them too, but they are specifically needs that we feel we have in our district both now and projecting into the future. Very often, the needs that you have, just like in your own homes, the most expensive needs that you have are the ones that you don't necessarily see. Your HVAC, your plumbing, your electricity. Those are sometimes the things that cost you the most, but you don't necessarily see it, but you experience it every day in a variety of different ways. And that certainly is the case here with our referendum projects. So we've included projects that directly impact our students. That was something that was also a driving initiative from the board. We wanted things that directly impacted the student experience and the staff experience here, and also something that our community can see and value. You know, we're very proud of our schools, our middle school and our high school. Our grounds are, in my opinion, the best in the county, and I've seen many of them, believe me. We want our interior of our buildings to be as flexible and as useful and as eye-catching as our outside is. So a couple of overarching themes, which you'll see in the later slides when Frank walks you through them. These were, if we could encapsulate some of the themes that the board had, they wanted enhanced learning environments for our students and for our staff to teach in. They wanted student and staff safety to be addressed in a variety of different ways. We always address our student and staff safety, but they said any projects that move forward must consider this moving forward as well. And finally, keeping up to date with operations. We know how fast things can become obsolete, especially in education and in schools, and the board was very specific about making sure that the projects that we had would be flexible so that as we grow, as our curriculum grows, the buildings would grow with them. It wouldn't be something that would become outdated in 10 years. So it would be something that would live beyond the lifespan of this board. I don't mean lifespan, I mean your tenure on the board, or my tenure here, I didn't mean to say lifespan. Something that goes beyond them, a footprint that could be left in the sand here at Riverdale for future people to see and use and enjoy based on the work that they did here. So some of the projects that Frank will be walking you through really do have a very exciting and high visual impact for us. You know, the STEAM and STEM labs. We've done some renovations over the years, especially in the middle school, to STEAM and STEM labs, but there's more that we can do, especially here at the high school, to expand our course offerings, to give more flexible learning spaces to our students so that we could do more in those classrooms and bring more into the district. Both auditoriums, the middle school and the high school, need some renovation. They're pretty much original. We've done some fixture updates in there, but both of them were designed for non-amplified sound. They were designed for what I'm doing right now, just speaking to you, and it doesn't really work the same way when you have amplified sound or electronically amplified sound. So there's a lot of acoustical work that we want to do in there, and just some restructuring and refitting of both auditoriums, and most specifically at the middle school, adding HVAC into that auditorium. It currently does not have HVAC as far as at least air conditioning. It has heat, but no air conditioning. Nutritional living and wellness classroom renovations, that's specifically to the middle school, and Frank will walk you through that as well. Special education classroom renovations, we have an 18 to 21-year-old program. Students who are classified as special needs students or students with disabilities, or whether you know this or not, I don't know, so I don't mean to insult you, but we are responsible to educate them until they're 21, not just till they're 18 years old in many cases. So an 18 to 21 program does exist. We send our students currently outside of district to other programs, some housed in public schools, some in private schools, depending on their specific need or their specific disabilities, or whether they have multiple disabilities. But we know we can do that here. We can do that here. We don't need to send them out where it costs us more money to send them out and paying tuition and transportation and aids and things like that. If we had space here, we could utilize that space and keep our students here, our Riverdale kids in Riverdale, where we believe they belong. So that is a big part of the renovation plan for the high school, the 18 to 21 program. And of course, athletic locker room renovations, and Frank will walk you through it, the gymnasium floors. I think the middle school gymnasium floor is original to the building, if I'm not mistaken. And what we do is we upkeep those floors over the years. You sand them and you stain them, you sand them and you stain them, but you reach a point where you can't sand anymore because you're just down to the studs, I guess. So it's getting to that point now, and it would be a good idea to move forward and fix the dead spots and replace that flooring where it exists. And to change the whole structure of the athletic locker rooms because they're not really, they're still locker rooms. There were locker rooms 50 years ago when they were built, but the purposes and the ways we use our locker rooms are a little bit different, and the ways we supervise them are different now than they were before. Okay, to walk you through the proposed projects, I will give you Frank Messenio. Frank, all yours.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about the details of the project so that you know exactly what's included in the referendum. So we're going to start with capital projects. The capital projects, those are the infrastructure projects that you will see, or you won't really see, but it's all behind the scenes stuff that keep the building running and allows us to do what needs to be done. As Dr. Abro said, district-wide security measures. One of the things that we're going to do, the district has already addressed secure vestibules and things like that. We are going to address security film at all first floor doors and windows. Now that security film is an applied film, and what it does is it creates additional time. It doesn't allow the window to be smashed and just shattered. This film holds the window together, and it buys time so that somebody can't just smash the window and walk through the building. It's not to be confused. It's not bulletproof. Bullets will go through, but it does buy time for first responders to get here. That will be on all first floor doors and windows. Various mechanical and HVAC upgrades, unit ventilator replacements, ventilation upgrades, AC, controls upgrades. During COVID, everybody looked real hard at ventilation and at the requirements for UVs and operation and things like that. The other issue that comes up all the time is air conditioning. Are the classrooms air conditioning? Is it comfortable? Is it a comfortable learning environment? So these are upgrades that will be addressed under the referendum at various locations throughout the schools. Various electrical, fire alarm upgrades, plus emergency generators. These are critical services only. We want to make sure that the generators are in place to host in the critical services in the event of an emergency. This allows the district also to act as a community support place, shelter, things like that, if they're able to have emergency generators. Gymnasium floor replacement, we just talked about. Over time, you continue to maintain and sand those floors, but they get to a point where they can't be done any longer. So we'll be upgrading the gym floors, new flooring, new graphics, new school spirit type things throughout the gymnasiums. Asbestos tile flooring removal and replacement. This only occurs in the high school maintenance wing right now. The district has done a very good job over the years of removing asbestos tile flooring. And while asbestos tile flooring has the word asbestos, it has lasted this long because it was good tile and it was, the adhesive that held it down was very good. It's completely safe unless it's in a friable or broken condition, and the district has kept the tile in a great spot. Why are we removing it? Because there's no reason to keep it here. If we can remove it and we have the ability to do so under the referendum, now it won't be a future issue for us to be concerned with. So we're going to remove that area, and that's one of the areas part of the renovation for our 18 to 21-year-old program. And then graphics and branding. Any of the designs you're going to see from us and that we do, we always incorporate graphics and school spirit and branding because it's a low-cost, high-impact way of creating a vibrant, exciting space for the students and for the staff to learn in and to work in. So you'll see graphics and branding throughout some of the things that we do. So those are the capital projects that are encompassed in both schools as part of the referendum. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the educational projects, and we're going to start at the high school. So the high school projects at the lower level of the high school consist of the creation of an 18 to 21-year-old program classroom. One of our charges was to look at the buildings and determine underutilized, undervalued space within the buildings. And one of the things that we found was there were some areas that were used as storage space and they were underutilized, and we could reclaim that space. And we found a way, and we'll show you in a little bit, a way to reclaim it for the 18 to 21-year-old program. The other area at the lower level that requires renovations are the locker rooms. As Dr. Albro said, locker rooms back when I went to school were a lot different. There were big shower rooms, shower areas with masks that everybody showered at. We don't shower that way anymore. In most schools, those shower rooms are used as storage, and it's no different here, and you'll see that. So we want to replace and renovate these shower rooms, reclaim underutilized space. That's valuable square footage to the district. So that's something that you'll see us doing. So I'm going to jump into the 18 to 21-year-old program, talk specifics. You're going to see a general slide like you just saw, and then we'll jump into the specifics. So the 18 to 21-year-old program is comprised of this lower level area that is this underutilized maintenance, storage, workroom area. And what we're going to do is take this underutilized space, and we're going to create spaces for that life skills program, for that 18 to 21-year-old program. Spaces that will help with instruction, workrooms, cooking, hygiene, areas that the students will be able to, learn valuable life skills so that they can move on outside of their homes. So, but the space will be completely renovated. That asbestos tile flooring will be removed, new flooring, wall and ceiling finishes, LED lighting, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical upgrades will be done. Bathroom spaces, there will be a bedroom space that will, teach them how to make their bed, be able to brush their teeth, do various functions. There will be various group and individual areas for learning. So we're taking a space that's right now full of storage racks and underutilized, and we're going to create something that creates multiple areas within that space to create a vibrant and thriving 18 to 21-year-old program. The boys and girls athletic locker rooms, again, they're outdated. The lockers are damaged. The lockers are in a state of disrepair. They're fixed all the time. They're damaged all the time. But the intent here would be to redesign these rooms. What you can see here is kind of this rectangular space. Right now, that's the big shower room. That shower room is used for storage. There's just stuff thrown in it because nobody showers anymore. But in middle school and high school programs, showers requiring, especially for wrestlers, MRSA, things like that, they have to shower. What we've found is if we design individual shower stalls, compartments similar to toilet stalls, kids will shower. They'll use the lockers, they'll do what they need to do. So we're designing spaces for athletics and sports shower lockers, toilets and shower areas. We're renovating the locker space so that the lockers are lower and it creates greater supervision within the locker space. New floor finishes, new walls, ceiling, lighting, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrades. So this is an example on the left of what the locker looks like now. There's that big shower area used as storage. Here's an idea of what the space could look like. Open areas, team room type spaces, or locker spaces of what that space could look like. And the shower area would be converted into those compartmentalized showers, which would make it easier and private for people to shower. On the first floor plan, we look at 3 separate projects: the auditorium renovations in orange, and the stage upgrades in orange, and then STEM room renovations and upgrades in the pinkish color, purplish color. So the auditorium renovations, this is both front of house and back of house. So the part where the audience sits, as well as the stage and beyond. And the intent here is to design accommodations for acoustics, lighting, sound, redo the stage, create more area in the wings, a new proscenium, finishes, wall ceiling finishes, as well as lighting, mechanical, plumbing upgrades throughout that area. So if you look on the image on the left, it's an existing auditorium. The lighting is dim. There are lighting issues, acoustic issues. While there's new seating, the intent would be to redo the flooring, redo the walls, create graphic or acoustic panels throughout that will enhance the sound within the space, absorb in some locations, reflect in others, and that'll all be designed as well as create a better performance space for the students and other events that happen in the auditorium. The STEM and STEAM classroom spaces, again, these are taking existing rooms and reorganizing them. Every classroom that we design today is flexible. It's on movable furnishings, flexible. Each desk has wheels. The room can be reconfigured in multiple spaces. So the desks that you see here, they can be put together as a conference area. They can be individual as individual workstations. There's various areas within the overall room for robotics or makerspace, electronics, group learning, various work areas throughout to support a growing curriculum. The teachers have more opportunity to expand the curriculum if the space can support it. If the space is static and fixed, it's very difficult to get an exciting and vibrant program. There will be a kind of a prep office area for the teachers in the center, and then the rooms are divided on either side. New floorings, finishes, the same goes throughout for all the renovation work. This is an image of what that STEM classroom looks like now. It's a conglomeration of various desks that are put together. They're all fixed. Everything, they can be dragged around, but it's not flexible. It's not easy. When things are not easy, people don't do it. The room remains fixed in that condition. The image on the right is an idea of what it could look like. It could be a wood shop robotics lab with a robotics table in the back and the ability to do a variety of STEM and STEAM type projects. Now we'll jump to the middle school. And a lot of the projects are identical. They're the same. It's the same scope. So we'll kind of go through and show you what we're looking at, but it's a lot of the same scope that I just described. So auditorium renovations at the middle school, including the second floor balcony, art room renovations, STEM and STEAM room renovations, and the nutritional living and wellness classroom upgrades. So again, auditorium, exact same. Front of house, back of house, lighting, acoustics, that's the big push. New flooring, and this also includes the balcony on the second floor. We'll get new finishes, new lighting and everything else. So will the back of stage, new equipment, new things for lighting to be able to enhance that environment and improve production. An image of the existing auditorium, again, older, poor lighting, poor acoustics. This auditorium is one in particular that's unique because it does have a full stair that comes up the stage or a built-in riser. So it's something that we would keep and want to work with, but to be able to renovate and create a more functional space. The STEM and STEAM classroom, again, very similar layout at the middle school as at the high school, two independent rooms, a centralized office, prep space that can accommodate both flexible, movable furniture, robotics. They can do electronics, maker spaces, group learning. The rooms, when they're done, will be able to support whatever the teachers want to do in there. An idea of what it looks like now, you can see the wood extraction system for dust. You can see the tables and the fixed tables and stools, and something that it could look like. Everything on wheels, flexible, rolling, power drops from the ceiling to be able to create, again, a very flexible and dynamic environment. The art classroom, very original to the building, original cabinetry, original space. The idea here is, again, to be flexible, to create a revised environment for the art room that supports what the teacher wants to do, regardless of the program. More storage, cabinetry, it's always the missing component in an art room today. There's not enough places to display art. There's no gallery space. There's no place to put this. So we want to be able to create an environment that supports all of this. New finishes, lighting, et cetera, et cetera. So the image on the left is the existing art room. It's older, dated. I know a lot of people love the salmon-colored cabinets that have been painted about 8,000 times. But the intent is to redo the cabinets, redo the furnishings. Again, everything that you'll see in these images is flexible and movable. And the ability for us to create gallery space where artworks can be displayed, presented, giving the students the ability to present their works is really, really important. Nutritional living, wellness, classroom renovations. Nutritional living, when I went to school, was called home economics. Home economics then and home economics now are two different things. Kids are learning to be chefs. Kids are looking at culinary arts, nutrition, learning all the values of what they put in their body, and that's what this space is designed to do. It's designed to improve the efficiency of the classroom that currently exists. Multiple kitchen stations, a demonstration area, a classroom area to learn about nutrition, and a functional area to learn about the actual ability to cook and prepare culinary delights. Flexible furnishing, storage, cabinetry, equipment that will support this growing curriculum and allow the teachers to expand and do what needs to be done. These are two images of the existing home economics or wellness classroom. And while the teachers do an amazing job in the spaces that they have, you can see the room is cluttered, it's a mishmash of different furnishings, things are put together to be able to do what they need to do. It's not what the space should be today. And the space should be more dynamic, more flexible, stainless steel equipment, stainless steel tables, different kitchen areas, learning areas, prep areas, the ability to move all those stainless steel tables together and create a banquet where they can actually have an event for the food they create. Teaching them, potential life skills when they graduate and they want to become a chef, they have the skills to do it because they were able to learn in this classroom. So let's talk about probably the most important question on everybody's mind, and then that is, what's it going to cost and how does that impact me? So when we looked at the cost of each school and the work at each school, the way it worked out, this is kind of just by happenstance because the needs were based on what we needed, not necessarily the cost. But when you look at capital projects in the left column, there's about $3.6 million in capital projects at the high school. At the middle school, however, that number goes up to $6.3 million in capital projects. That's all the HVAC, the lighting, the infrastructure work that we talked about earlier, totaling $9.9 million in associated capital project work. It's basically reversed at the high school. We've got about 5.2, or for educational projects rather. It's 5.2 million in educational projects at the high school, about 3.6 million of educational projects at the middle school, totaling about $8.7 million in educational projects for both schools. The total being about $18.6 million in capital and educational projects at both schools. There's that slide again. And the reason that this slide is so important is to show you that the renovation work that the board approved to go into this referendum, they were all eligible for state aid. State aid is eligible at maximum value at 34%. And the district has been approved. We've received letters from the DOE that certify those numbers. They will receive 35% in debt service aid against this project. And what that means for us is that we have the ability to do $18.7 million worth of work for $12.3 million. It's a pretty good deal. If we were to do this, or let's say we had the ability to do all this out of the capital budget, which there's no way we could do this much money out of the capital budget, we would pay 100%. Any other work would be paid at 100%. The only reason that debt service is available is because we are encumbering debt through a referendum, and that it is tied to education and renovations. So it's a very important slide. Said another way, the total project cost of $18.6 million, with the debt service aid being received, we're going to receive about $3 million in debt service aid for the high school projects. We're going to receive about $3.3 million in debt service aid for the middle school projects, for a total of about $6.3 million in debt service aid. So the total cost, final cost after debt service aid at the high school is 5.8 and 6.5 at the middle school, for a total of $12.3 million. Now, to 34%, according to the legislation, and when you see the bond question, it says that the district is eligible for 40% in debt service aid. The reason the difference between 40% and the 34% that we're telling you about is because since 2009, the state has only paid 85% of the 40% number that you're eligible, which results in 34%. So we don't want to tell you 40 and then you're only going to see 34, so we tell you right out of the gate it's 34% in debt service aid. Current debt service aid calculations have been finalized and approved by DOE, and all cost projections have been based on a presumed 4% interest rate by the district's financial people. If the rates, for whatever reason, by the time the referendum happens, go up, then the numbers that you're going to see will go up slightly. If the rates go down, those numbers will go down slightly. So let's talk about that formula and how it impacts you as the taxpayer. In 2004, the district went out for a referendum. Those bonds are maturing, coming, and being paid off in the current 2023-2024 school year. The district currently has no other outstanding debt. So putting forth the referendum will come up with a number for the debt. Now, residents with an average assessed home of $567,313 in Dell are currently paying $201.32 for the current debt service that's on the books. The cost of the new referendum, based upon those projected interest rates and the cost, will be about $142.72. So therefore, residents in Oradell will see a reduction in their debt service of about $58.60 from what you're currently paying. In River Edge, the average assessed home at $395,273 is currently paying about $174.54. The new project will result in $123.74 debt service, and therefore there will be a debt service reduction of about $50.80. Said another way, the referendum's $18.6 million. We're receiving $6.4 in debt service aid for a $12.3 million net taxable impact to the taxpayers. The impact for a taxpayer in Oradell will be a $58 credit on what you're currently paying. It will be a $50.80 credit or decrease per year for what you're currently paying in River Edge. Now, this decrease takes into consideration the debt service aid roll-off, which I talked about. The assumed interest rate is 4% for a 20-year term. And this projected impact takes into consideration the referendum only, the work that the school is doing from the referendum. It doesn't take into consideration any other impact that the town might come up with for something that the town is doing. But for what the school is doing, this is the impact. We're going to show it to you one other way because we want to be transparent, we want to be thorough. So this is a third way to show it, and it's pretty straightforward. Current tax impact. Blue is Oradell, green is River Edge. The average assessed home here, the average assessed home here, it's $201.32 currently, it's $174 currently. It's $142. The new impact, if you vote yes for the capital and educational projects, is $142 per year for Oradell and $123.74. So $58.60 reduction, $50.80 reduction if the referendum passes. In short, your taxes will not go up if the referendum passes. But what does your vote mean? And this is, again, another graphical representation of what you're going to get. If you vote yes for this referendum, you get $18.7 million worth of capital educational classroom renovations, as we've just discussed, minus $6.4 million in debt service aid. You're going to get the arts, the learning, the wellness, the safety, and the operations, all of those things covered, and you're going to get a reduction in debt service for $58.50. If you vote no and the referendum fails, then the district will have to continue to do what it's currently doing, and that is make operational and district changes out of the capital budget. It limits the amount of work that can be completed on a given year. They won't be able to do this wholesale renovation to both buildings, and it will occur without any state aid because there is no state aid available for the type of work that we're doing other than through a referendum. So we'll essentially lose $6.4 million in debt service aid. That's been approved. For ease of use, we know that everyone doesn't have the average assessed home in either town, right? Your house may be worth more, it may be worth less. If you want to know exactly what the impact is to you and your home, the district's website, riverdell.org/referendum, you can go to the referendum page and there's a button to click, Estimate My Tax Impact. When you click on that button, it will bring this web calculator up. You enter the assessed value of your home in this box if you're in Oradell, in this one if you're in Riverdell, and it will tell you what the referendum impact will be to you. The credit, in most cases, if your value is higher than $567,000, the value will go higher in credit. You'll get more credit because you're paying more. If it's less, it'll be less. But the calculator will tell you. Now, the assessed value of your home is not the market value of your home. You get the assessed value from the assessor's office, what your home is currently assessed at. So you want to make sure you're entering the assessed value and not the market value. You'll be really shocked at the number you get if you put in market value. If your home is reassessed in the future, the additional tax related to the referendum doesn't change. The tax impact is locked in after the bonds are sold. If you are currently participating in the New Jersey Senior Freeze tax program, your taxes will remain unaffected by the referendum. So if you're eligible and you've been eligible for the Senior Freeze, your taxes do not change at all. Some frequently asked questions and facts. We said before we're carrying 4% for a 20-year term. Even with significant increases that we've experienced in construction industry due to material shortages, supply chain issues, we still need to work within the budget that was submitted to DOE when we submitted back in February. We cannot spend a penny more than what is approved by the voters. So we're going to have to manage the projects to get them to come in on budget. The designs that you saw, the concepts that you saw, what it could look like. They're right now representations of what it could look like. They're not the final design. It could look different than what you saw, but it's an intent to show you what's there. New Jersey is one of the only states that you have to pass the referendum first before we do design work. Connecticut, New York, it's different. They do the design work for the whole building, and then they go for referendum. But the difference there is they pay for engineering and architecture. If the referendum were to pass, or fail rather, you would have paid for all this engineering and architecture that you wouldn't need. So in New Jersey, they do it differently, and that's why the designs are conceptual. If and when the referendum passes, then we sit down with the district, the administration, the faculty of all the rooms, and we go through the designs and find out their specific needs and wants. Can more money be spent? I gave that away before. No. You cannot spend 1 penny more the amount approved by the voters. It includes a reasonable budget number and contingencies and allowance to account for unforeseen conditions and construction issues. We can't increase the budget or spend more if we have, supply chain issues or construction costs. Will my taxes go up if the referendum passes? No, the bond referendum passes, your taxes will not go up. In fact, the debt service is projected to go down, as we talked about earlier. Students and staff during construction. It's always a big concern for us, for you as parents. Therefore, construction and renovations, this project will take 2 to 3 years to complete because there's only so much time we can do in the summer when kids aren't in school. There's only so many short little vacations that we can slide work in. Some work will be done during the school year. Any of the work on the windows and things like that that need to be done, the film, that can be done during the school year. Certain rooms that are not being used that can be locked up, like the auditorium or something like that, we can do work during the school year. We want to plan work when it's most advantageous for the district. If we do work closer to the summer, contractors are busy, costs are higher. If we try to put work out now or in October, September, when they're just finishing up their last projects, prices are cheaper. So we want to be flexible with the time that we can do the work. And while some of the construction could begin as early as the first summer of 2024, other projects that require more design, they'll go into later in 2024 or 25 and 26 summers to complete. Senior freeze, we talked about that already. Taxes will remain the same. Project priorities. So in the event that costs escalate and the district for some reason can't finish all of the projects because the bids came in over budget, the district is committed to doing the infrastructure projects that we talked about. Safety, security, HVAC, emergency generators, all of those big projects. They are legally required to finish all of the projects that you've approved in the question. It's unlikely that it won't happen, but if in the event it does, we want you to know what projects will take priority. Why wasn't this work done before? It's a question that comes up all the time. How come you didn't do all this work? Why is it here? And oftentimes in education, the education of students takes precedence over capital projects, over the infrastructure. You even do it at your own house. We'll get another year out of the boiler. We'll get another year out of the roof. We'll put that off. We'll do what we need to do to try to keep the educational process going. We have to hire another teacher. We can't do this. So because of the 2% cap, it's impossible to complete the amount of work that needs to be done. The district has done so since the last referendum, little projects over the course of the last 20 years. They've done work. You've seen the list. Dr. Albro talked about the list. So if we continue to do work through the capital, we do it again without debt service aid, which is a huge help to everyone here. How does state aid get paid into the projects? Is it a check? Is it get put in the district's bank account? And the answer is no. Every year, based on the bond being sold, the district will have to make a debt service payment. In this particular case, the district's only going to make 66% of that payment. The state will pick up the other 34%. How are construction costs and supply chain issues factored into the markup? So we prepared budget estimates for this project. Those budget estimates were submitted to the Department of Education and approved. Those budget estimates include escalators and contingencies because these projects are not going to be done this year. They're going to be done in 3 years. So typically when we budget projects, the first projects that are completed in the beginning tend to come in under budget because there's escalators on them. Those under budget projects tend to feed and supply the later projects, which could come in over budget. So they net each other out at the end of the day. So those are the contingencies and multipliers that we've included. What would the cost of these projects be without passing a referendum? And again, we've talked about this. If the district doesn't pass the referendum, they will continue to do these projects over a long period of time and without the state aid of 34%. Would the construction at both schools happen at the same time? Depending upon the work, the pricing, and when we can do it, we'd like to try to package projects to be larger. We get a greater economy of scale. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't bid them to multiple contractors. If one guy's lower, he may get the middle school. If one guy's lower, he may get the high school. If the combined number is lower and it's a big enough company, they could take both. So depending upon how the bids work, they could be, to get economy of scale, we could be doing work at both schools at the same time. And where does this work put Riverdale in the ranks of other schools? In our opinion, and obviously the district believes the same, that facilities support learning. Other districts in the nearby areas have passed referenda, they've done facilities renovations, they've done classroom renovations. The intent here is that in order for the district to advance the educational process, the curriculum, expand the programs offered to students, the rooms need to be able to support it. And right now, fixed and static and small rooms don't cut it. We need to be flexible. We need to offer the ability for these teachers to do what they do best, and that is create a program that's going to teach these students now and into the future. That's all I have to say. Questions? Yes, sir.
Has there been a financial analysis done on the amount of money the district would save by not going out of district and then teaching within the new facility?
I'm going to turn that question over to Trudy.
Yes, we have looked into it, and also the goal of the district is to keep the students in district as much as possible, but there would be a savings.
Ballpark savings?
I don't really have it in front of me. I can get that to you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd just be curious. I mean, we obviously know it's an important part of it, and obviously as much as we can keep in. I'm just curious. Thank you.
So one of the things to point out at this end slide, so the district's website has a referendum landing page, a referendum page. If you go on that referendum page, everything is there. Everything we talked about and the presentation's there, the tax impact, the calculator, everything is on that page. One of the other things that's on there is all those frequently asked questions that I've answered for you or shown you. The question you just asked will be converted into a frequently asked question and will be posted on the website. So any questions that you guys have, they'll find their way to the website. You have the ability to go back and look and see what the answers are. Yes?
In reference to Ted's question, how many students would you expect to be able to educate or take care of in that?
So overall, my guess would be between 8 and 10 students overall over time. Excuse me?
8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Over time. At the beginning, it won't be. At the beginning, it'll be, start slowly, depending on the needs of the students. It's like the beginning could be 2 or 3, and then it can grow to between 8 and 10.
I think it's my assumption too that if, say, a year like my son's year where there are not as many students that need it as there are in upcoming years, I see that there probably will be more. Will you be able to then take students from other districts and they will pay for it? So that will
Yes.
probably get money coming in as well on those years with those fewer students.
The answer is yes. We would take students from out of district. Our goal will be first to educate our students, our own students, and then, of course, to bring other students in as well.
Yes?
Another quick question. Who will oversee, now you said we're going to need electrical, all different components to put this together. Who picks the electrical company that will do it?
It's a very good question. So New Jersey has what's called the lowest responsible bidder. New Jersey public bidding laws only require contractors who provide the lowest responsible bid and price and have all the required paperwork. So when we bid these projects, they'll all be bid individually. We'll group some together, some will be individually, but it's up to the contractor. If the contractors put in a bid price and their price is the lowest, as long as we can corroborate that price, let's say it's far lower than our budget, then we have to do an evaluation to determine whether he's included everything that's in the job that we expect. Once we conclude that, well, then we have to give him the job. As long as his paperwork is together and everything is straight, those are the guys that get the job, the lowest responsible bidder.
Oversee it?
Yes.
You make
As
sure.
part of our contract, if the referendum were to pass, we would establish a contract for all of the work being done. Our contract includes construction administration services throughout the life of the project. So from start to finish for the 3 years that goes on, and we're on site weekly, bi-weekly, whatever each individual project takes, to make sure that our drawings are being supported in the way they're supposed to be, that they're not cutting corners, they're not doing things they shouldn't be doing. Anyone else? Covered it all.
I hate to.
That's all right. That's why we're here.
So 34% is your debt service that we're receiving.
Correct.
How did they come to that number, the state?
So we put together a budget estimate for all the projects that the district has included. And obviously doing what we do, we know which projects are eligible and which would not be eligible because we've done this enough. But all we do is take our number, the budget number that we come up with, as long as it's approved by DOE, and we multiply it by 34%. We come up with an estimated debt service aid, and DOE corroborated every one of those numbers. So they approved the 34% of the budget cost.
And that 34% has nothing to do with COVID or ESSA projects?
No.
Or anything like that?
Nope. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.
What's the chances of this getting passed?
You tell me.
I think you guys have to tell us.
Spread the word, let everybody know about the website.
And do that,
Take
yes.
extra, what are these?
Brochures with you.
And also take loan signs.
Loan signs.
Yes.
One thing I would just say
Yeah.
about the economics, because Oradell just went through a tax increase, and people are still raw to that. I'm not saying that it can change, but you need to drill home on the savings part of it. And you guys have done a great job with that one slide. I don't care about, I mean, John, no disrespect, those lawn signs are beautiful.
Right.
However, that economics is really where they're gonna get, at least our side of, I'm not saying that River Ridge has issues either, or people in River Ridge aren't for or against, but the savings in that grid, those 3 bars that you had,
Yep.
that's where people need to understand. It's $18 million, but you need to hit home that you're getting money from
The
the
bar
state.
graph. Yep.
Yeah, that one right there, the 6.4. Because people, in their minds right now, they're stuck at 18. So you need to articulate, we're getting 6 from the state, but the only way we can get this is obviously through the referendum. So, I mean, it's obviously economics, but people are really just raw right now in terms of tax increase.
I like it.
Please spread the word. Let them know about that slide.
Exactly.
We'll get some, we'll get loan signs.
Well, the most important part of this is by piggybacking
Done
it
tomorrow.
on the backside of a more expensive referendum enables us to say we're not raising your taxes with this kind of referendum. And that savings part, as Ted mentioned, that's the bonus right there.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing just to realize is, and it was said that if the referendum doesn't pass the work that's spelled out here, we can spend the next 20 years chipping away at this through our capital budget, and we will probably still not get to the end of it, while other things will come up. There's not the budget, with the 2% cap to be able to do that. On top of which, having to pay for another additional $6.4 million as we're doing it. So part of it is, do you want the current generation of student who is coming through the school district to benefit, from all we're trying to do versus, doing one STEM room, 1 year, and another STEM room maybe the next year, and another STEM room the year after, and probably the auditoriums never, because we don't have the budget to do it.
And one thing to add, if we do it over a 20-year period, we're going to lose that 6.4 million from the state.
And by the time you're done, you're going to have to do it all over again.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons why the board, in going through the scope of work, chose not to do everything, because we didn't want to max out. We certainly could have chosen to max out so that the net effect was 0 on the taxpayer, but we went through what was really important to both the school facility and to the students, while still trying to give back to the taxpayers in both towns.
I think you're perfectly correct. In this whole room, I think we're preaching to the choir here in most cases. But you get out there with the masses of population in both towns, and you have a core of large group of senior citizens who say, what difference does it make? Not this year. They have this, they have that. That's all I'm saying. I'm for it, but it's going to be a push.
I think there's an opportunity, and I think the board and Dr. Aglo have done an excellent job of trying to be transparent. So we would ask for your help if anybody does have those questions. I think they're more than ready and able to answer them. And in addition, I think there's a great opportunity for seniors to come out. I believe
Sunday.
the date, the end of the
Sunday.
November 19th?
Sunday.
Sunday. So November 19th on Sunday, we put in a variety of areas that we're having a coffee and tickets to see the show at the high school. So that's another opportunity for them to get their very valid concerns answered, as well as I know we have another board meeting before the referendum. So there's multitudes of opportunities for transparency. If you know anyone, as you said, we're preaching to the choir, but if there's people out there, please encourage them to ask the questions, and we can easily get them the answers, because this is such an important undertaking.
So with the board, because I said before, I recognize a lot of faces here. The board and myself, we've been out at a number of different events in River Ed and in Oradell over the last couple of months. And from my perspective, I've heard nothing but overwhelming support for this, as I'm hearing from most of you in this room tonight. But the important piece is people have to go out and vote, if that's the way they feel. Either way, we think people need to go out and vote, whether they feel yes or that they feel no on the referendum. They need to go exercise their right to vote. We want to make sure that they are informed on what this vote actually carries, and what it will do and what it will not do, and how it will and will not impact them. So the important thing is that people do go out and actually vote. Never a done deal until it's done. In my previous district, I passed a referendum lasted by 4 votes. 4 votes. So every vote does count, especially in these local elections and these special elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. There are extra brochures here if anybody wants to take as many as you want to hand out to friends, relatives.
Thank you, by the way. That was very comprehensive and informative.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
I'll call him
Thank
after
you.
the meeting.
Good night. Thank
See
you,
you,
Frank.
Frank. I'll call him when I get home, but he knows not to. And you can shoot, you want me to shoot Brian a text? Or?
I'll tell him tomorrow.
But I think that's a better idea. Okay. Are we ready to continue here? I believe we are. Okay, we're going to start back up with my report, the President's report. I was here along with a few other board members last Friday. I believe it was last Friday, right? Was it last
Yes.
Friday?
Today.
Two-
No, 2 Fridays.
Two Fridays.
It was 2 Fridays. I thought it was 2 Fridays.
It was the 3rd.
Okay.
Let's go with that, right?
It was the 3rd. I'm staring at it. It was the
It
3rd.
was the 3rd.
We were here for the grand opening of the Hawks Gallery, and the transition program students, I thought, did a wonderful job, with the coffee shop. They do everything from the design of the sign here on the column behind me to ordering the products to serving the coffee and cakes. And there was an added twist this year. You see a couple of photos on the wall here. There's about 5 or 6 spread, probably more than that, 7 spread. And there's a little tag underneath showing the student and the year, the class they're in, from the photo club. And there was also a presentation, live music. I believe there were 4 or 5 students that sang, played the piano and sang. It was a very nice, I was here for an hour, maybe it lasted a little bit longer, but I believe it's every Friday morning, 8:30?
Basically, yes.
8:30?
The cafe,
Uh,
not the cafe and a potential performance.
Right. At least the cafe will be open. Yeah, it was, they did a really nice job.
And the art is rotating monthly, I believe.
Yes,
Right?
that's correct.
Okay. And then it was mentioned before, coffee with us, the board, next Sunday, the 19th, from 12 o'clock to 2 p.m. This invitation went out to the Interact Club, I believe, got it out to all seniors that were at least registered. I know the seniors that attend the senior citizen prom were all sent the invitation to view probably a scaled-down version of the PowerPoint that we just saw, and then able to sit in on the production, the high school production of 12 Angry Jurors. That's all I have tonight, so I'll pass it along to you.
Okay,
Mr.
good evening,
Dr.
everyone.
Aldo.
Just to reiterate, I know last meeting I mentioned that we were closing out marking period 1, but we are now officially in marking period 2, which began today. So counselors, administrators, teachers, obviously, will be reaching out to parents and students who need support. That's part of the process, and we invite any parents and students to reach out to counselors, to administrators, and obviously to teachers if they feel they need support. That's a big piece of data coming in with that first marking period report card that kind of tracks us for where we're going to be going for the rest of the year. And those conversations are just more important than ever once you get that data in. So that's just one piece to remind you. Secondly, and I don't have much to report on tonight because our student representatives always do such a fine job with that. But our fall athletic programs are complete for this year. I'm the newcomer, so I'm the one coming in and seeing this for the first time. It's probably old news to most of the people here. But I was most impressed with not necessarily wins and losses, but the spirit that we have and the way our athletic events are attended by parents, by students, by people just from the community. I was very happy to see that, and I'm looking forward to the winter seasons as well. I'm sure it'll be more of the same. And finally, as mentioned by Mr. Grapp, we have the fall production taking place this week. It's on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You have to go online to get tickets. I invite you all to do that. I'll be going on a couple of different nights. I did see a production last year, right shortly after I was appointed, and I was impressed is not the word for what we're doing here at Riverdale. So I'm very excited to see this performance, and I forget what the term is. My wife always reminds me, you're not supposed to wish anybody luck in the theater, right? You're supposed to say break a leg, so break a leg. And I found out that means, break a leg means to bow. I didn't know that either, so break a leg to everyone in the performance. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get into committee reports. Excuse me, I do not believe any of the committees met except curriculum, which met tonight. Can you confirm that, Doug? Budget? Okay. Facilities, John? Okay. Community relations, Alan? There was no meeting since the last. And policy, governance, other than two policies being on the agenda for tonight for the first reading. So Annette, you can just report back what you went through tonight.
A very productive discussion. We continue to evaluate the course offerings going forward, as well as what we currently have on hand that would best serve our students, as well as we were informed of the applications of the new standards that were rolled out by the state for language arts and math. And we continue to explore all avenues as our curriculum evolves to serve the students.
Okay. Thank you, Annette. May I have a motion to move to consent agenda? Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Okay, Stephanie. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the consent agenda? And as always, if I could just ask a question or two. Under 12A, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the following staff for the 23-24 Janet's Law teams. And I just wanted an explanation. Maybe you could let people know what the Janet Law.
Janet's Law came into existence a few years back, requires school districts to have in each school building a number of staff members who are certified in CPR. And we put together what are called Janet's Law teams of our staff members that are certified in CPR and willing to serve on the Janet's Law team. I think it's 5 per building you're supposed to have. We have well in excess of that at the high school and at the middle school. It's not something that we previously board approved. It's something I did in my other district. I'd just like to have the notation that this is our actual Janet's Law team in each building. We probably have more teachers and staff members than this that are certified in CPR, but these are the ones that are on the Janet's Law.
Okay. Very good, thanks. And Trudy did notify me that once the agenda is out, we cannot change the verbiage and something. But one of the board members brought up something on 13 Finance District Operation on K. The superintendent and board secretary recommend that the board approve a transportation jointure agreement with Dumont Public Schools for transporting students to New Milford High School for the 23-24 school year at a cost of $3,093.19. We're going to add for educational purposes to that, and that's on the consent agenda. And Stephanie, thank you for that. I believe that's all I had on the consent. If anyone else has any other questions or concerns on consent before we vote?
Yeah, can we pull 11A as a separate vote?
11A, that's on the curriculum, that is the field trip.
Right.
To Spain. You would like to pull that for a separate vote?
Yes. And I'll explain why. I'm supposed to be in Spain right now. My trip was canceled by not only the company that I represent here in the U.S., but also by Homeland Security, for the simple reason that I was advised that it's not safe right now to travel to Spain. That could change by the time this trip comes up, but I'd feel like a hypocrite saving myself, and God forbid something happens here. So I just want to abstain from 11A, and that's the reason.
You don't have to pull. You can do a partial extension.
Okay, then I'll just do a partial. It's not that I don't agree that kids should travel and see. It's that, God forbid something happened, and I voted yes, I'd feel horrible about it.
Can I ask a question related to that then? I assume we would never send the kids in harm's way. So I assume this approval is conditional on state of things prior to that trip. I know there was insurance provision, I think we discussed the ability to kind of cancel. So just, relating to what Alan is saying, I also wouldn't want to approve something. I would assume all our trips are predicated at some point as it gets closer, some sort of an assessment of, safety and adequacy of chaperones and everything else. Is that the case?
That is something we would have to look at, especially with an international trip, yes, as it gets closer to it. And if there are concerns, we'll bring them forward, and if that means that the trip doesn't happen, the trip doesn't happen.
Is there
There's
anything we
also-
could do to ensure that, because there, you know, we had some issues, and I know there was a big turnout last time, that proactively the board is consulted X days before the trip or something?
Tell me how you'd like me to
Just
do
so
it.
it doesn't disappear. Maybe 90 days before the trip?
Well, so the travel insurance is the travel insurance, and it has its own parameters and its own cancellations, okay?
So maybe that's the
with
trigger.
with any trip that the school has ever done, okay, that's how travel insurance is. And then there's also the element of parents deciding to engage in that, in doing that, or not engaging in doing that as well. I can say years ago, when my daughter did the Italy exchange, there were 1 or 2 students that pulled out prior to the trip. The trip itself was not canceled, but there were 1 or 2 students that decided to pull out before that. When my son went to Costa Rica, people could have read the advisory from the State Department in any way that they wanted. You know, there's always advisories. So our job is to say whether or not we approve the trip happening, and then it's everyone else's responsibility and the travel insurance to decide to go forward or not go forward.
Is the travel insurance, can it be used for one person to back out, or does that?
Your
entire
travel
trip-
insurance you buy independently.
Got it.
And you're required to buy it by the district, but you buy it independently. And it has its, and there are different levels of travel insurance. So
Correct.
there's a minimum standard we set, but people choose to buy sometimes the more expensive to back out for any reason. You know, there are some that they all have parameters. So that's something, you know, it could turn out that given circumstances that the trip doesn't even go forward because there isn't the student interest given the current state of affairs, right? Our job is to say whether or not we approve the possibility of the trip. Beyond that, it's got to be up to the individual students.
Unless the administration can come back to the board, I'm not going to approve it tonight. Unless there's a check-in at some point where they come in.
Are we voting on it?
I would vote no.
We're not voting like this.
If they're not
so.
coming back to the board at some point X days before the trip, I'm going to vote no.
Alan, do you want to pull it? Or do you want to propose to pull it from the agenda, or you just want to personally vote differently? Because you asked to pull it from the vote, so we need to determine that at this very moment.
Go ahead.
So this is one trip that has been proposed. There are other trips that have also been proposed. So if we pull this one and say no to this one, then it would be assumed that we're also saying those other trips, given their parameters, are not something we're willing to.
Not if they've previously been approved.
No, nothing's been approved yet.
Right, nothing has.
They're in the
But there
pipeline.
are other
They're in the pipeline.
trips coming down the pipeline. As Alan
I
was
think it would
saying.
depend also on where they're going to and what is happening in that area of the country.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second for that motion? Are we pulling it? What's happening with the vote?
I'm just trying to figure out
No,
what
no.
what the proposed motion is.
Right, that's what I'm
Right
trying to get at.
Right now, we're going to keep it in the consent agenda, and
I'm just going to.
And I thought the trip, you know, if you read the, it's a well-thought-out trip. I mean, they're in the classroom 4 hours a day. I mean, it's not a vacation trip. It's an educational trip.
I'm not saying.
No,
that's
I
not-
understand what your concern
I'm
is.
just saying I should be in Spain right now, and this is. And I'm going to have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning and do it virtually because
Well,
they
I went
felt
on
it
the
wasn't
website.
safe for me to be there right now as an American, so.
And I went on a website, and it's, out of 4 levels, it's a level 2. It was in July. It could have changed, but it was a level 2, to be just aware.
Right.
It's not, you know, red flag. It's not telling you to not go to Spain.
Right, so the State Department, like, I know for my son who's studying abroad right now, we had to fill out forms with the State Department, and they send us, like, daily information. You know, if your child's here, this is what's going on here. If their child's there, this is what's going on there. I would think our students and their families would do the same. I would also think that our teachers would do the same. A lot of what we're hearing, a lot of what is being, like told, kids are still abroad, still doing like fantastic, experiences, and they're safe. I mean, you cannot be safe here. It doesn't matter where we are. I totally agree with you, Alan. It's kind of crappy that you got to do what you have to do now because of what you've been told, but you've been told. I also think then it becomes a parental decision along with a district decision. So if the plan is how it always has been, parents have a right to pull out, and if the district feels that, as it's coming too close or whatever, there's like unforeseen things. It could be weather related. Remember when we had the kids over and they couldn't come back? Like it could be anything. Yeah, I know that is happening, yeah. Yeah,
Ironically enough,
right.
the warning came out yesterday.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm saying, we have opportunities still ahead for us to protect our students. I just would feel like it would be, I kind of feel like we're not, if we say no right away,
Right.
we're not doing fair justice to those students and an opportunity.
Well, that's why I said I'd just rather abstain.
Right.
And,
Right.
Yeah,
no, I get it.
I'm not trying to influence anybody.
No,
I'm
I get it, yeah.
Do we require, I think you said, Stephanie, we require a minimum of insurance for
Yes.
everyone that goes on a trip?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the,
Explain about the insurance.
I'm sorry?
I'm Miriam Cordiello. I'm on the planet trip. I went through this with Dr. Albert. I just want to explain how the insurance works in this particular thing. We take CMAR, which is Cancel for Any Reason Insurance, which I looked at 20 policies while I was at a conference to make sure that we could get the best coverage possible. Every single policy covers up to 75% on Cancel for Any Reason. They get the full percentage for other reasons. But in going through the payment plan for this particular trip, we do not have to pay the final amount of the school. We only pay 10% of the school portion up front. The last amount, we gather 90% of the school portion, which is about 1,600 euros, the school portion, doesn't get paid until 20 days, which doesn't get paid until 20 days before the kids actually arrive. So in theory, we are covered 100% on the insurance until 20 days before the trip. I think at that point, we would know if we're going to pull out. I'm on an airplane constantly. I have a trip planned to Italy this December. I'm not concerned about it because I know it's a low, we're in the threat here in this country now. So we're not safe here. I'm not going to take 20 kids with me somewhere. I'm not going to put myself at risk if there is a real threat somewhere. And I've done everything that I can to protect that 100% cancellation insurance because of the way that we're paying for the trip. So the parents are protected with their money, they won't come back to the board. I think at that point, 20 days before, we're going to pull the trigger or not. So I think we're safe as far as saying we can pull out at any point and still be protected financially with the people that are involved in the trip.
I agree. We've had a number of conversations, Mr. Ardulo, on that specific topic.
I did a lot of research putting this trip together. I went to Spain last June. I was invited by the tourism to Spain to go visit the schools. I was there in person. I met with 12 schools. I physically visited 6 of the schools. I made my decision based on what I thought was the right fit for our students. I've done 3 other study abroad programs. My family is from Spain. And I picked the school because they have 3 locations. I can bring the kids to 2 distinctly different locations to give them a full experience of what it is to be in Old Seville, what it is to be in a beach town. And as Dr. Elmer said, the kids, this is not a fluff trip, it's not a tour. I've done the tours, I felt like I was on vacation with your kids. This is really an academic trip. They are in direct instruction 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. It's a 2-week trip. There's sort of an error on the dates. It's the 22nd, not the 27th, until the 6th of July. We're going to lose a day travel on both ends, obviously. But they're in direct instruction 4 hours a day. After lunch, the teachers from the school, together with the chaperones, myself and Ms. Rios, I have as a second chaperone, are with the kids in the target language the entire day as they go sightseeing and doing other things.
What's the dates you said? These dates are wrong?
It's the Saturday after school's over, so that's the 22nd of June, returning on July the 6th. Again, it's true, I believe it's a truly immersive opportunity for the kids to stay in the target language and really build their confidence in that language. I'm a language teacher. I don't want to take them on tours. I do want them to see
motion. You're on a consent agenda, you can
Right.
just say, I'm
Mhm.
saying yes to everything, and just if you have a separate vote on a
Right.
separate, then you can do that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other concerns on the consent?
Okay.
Trudy?
Claudia?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes, except 11A, I'm going to abstain.
John?
Yes, except 11A, I'm also going to abstain.
Annette?
Yes, I recuse myself though from 9A. I was not present.
Tracy Ellen?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
She said
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Al?
Yes. And we move on to the first vote outside the consent. That is under 12 miscellaneous, letter B. It is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the first reading of the following policies. 4,000 series, 4151.1, personal illness and injury, health and hardship, certified staff, and then 4251.1, personal illness and injury / health and hardship, non-certified staff. Under the 6,000 series, 6142.2, English as a second language bilingual programs. May I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
Barbara and Alan. And there will be a second reading at the next board meeting where the public can comment if they wish to do so. Trudy, we're ready.
Wait, no,
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so I had posed this to Dr. Albro, and not that he didn't answer me, but I need more clarity. So how does this, basically I asked, how does this affect FMLA? And you basically said it's sort of separate from FMLA, so it doesn't run concurrent, and that's a problem for us, right? Because Judy's like, right? Because then people could be taking extended leave and there aren't the same parameters put in from FMLA. Okay.
You're correct.
Okay, I'm just, I know,
And
it's
we
just,
have no
it's
choice.
just sitting there. I know. And then, I'm sorry, I didn't ask it earlier on the policy. There was just like a strange wording on the English, because it's like, it says the board shall provide English language learners and/or bilingual programs of instruction for students who, and then it goes back to ESL. So,
I had the same question.
Oh, okay.
Are we not using ESL, or are we using, I haven't gotten my answer yet. So,
okay, so
I
maybe
have
by
same-
the next time.
I'm
we-
hoping.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
All
But I
right.
had the same question.
Right, that was like,
Because you
so,
see it down below
right,
a couple
it's like, it's
It wasn't
very
consistent. The change, I brought that
agree.
up at the
Right.
last
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, that was brought up in committee.
Just a quick piggyback off
We're
of
having
Stephanie's
separate.
point, are we being mandated to adopt 4151 and 4251?
Yes, this is reflecting the law that was passed over the summer. by the
And
New
we
Jersey
have
State
to adopt it
Legislature.
Yes,
with that same exact language.
we have no choice.
Yes, it's reflective of the code.
So then why are we adopting it if
Because
it's
you have
law?
to have policy and regulation for any law that you have. Anything that's on the books has to be in your policy.
Memorialized in
Well, if
the
we didn't have a
policy?
policy, then we'd still be subject to the law.
That's my point.
Yeah, but all of our
Makes
policies
it
are
official.
based on the
Okay.
law. Makes it more official, yeah. Because we have a personal illness and injury and health and hardship policy already. We have to update it to reflect the law.
Gotcha.
And which leads us to another discussion about substitute pay, which we had that discussion, we'll have to bring up at another time, because we're going to need more substitutes because of this policy. I think we will. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I mean, if you've expanded the allowable uses for sick time for certificated and non-certificated staff, then people are going to use it.
Unless they're incentivized to not use it.
Correct.
Which is another discussion.
Correct. It remains to be seen where this is going to go and how this is going to impact districts who are already understaffed with subs and also with just rank and file, your normal staff, who might be out on leave already, has not really dramatically impacted us yet, but that could change in a couple of weeks.
One more quick question. When does it go into effect?
It's already in effect.
It's in effect.
So this is just memorializing again what's in effect. Okay. Lovely.
I'm sorry to spread all the wonderful news to you. It is what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Question? Trudy, please.
Claudia?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
John? Annette?
Yes.
Tracy Ellen?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Al?
Yes. Okay, the second and last vote outside of consent is under 12, also miscellaneous, the letter H. The superintendent, at the request of the board secretary, recommends that the board accept line item transfers and the adjustments as listed in the financial report for the month ending October 2023. May I have a motion, please?
It's 13, right?
Yes,
13 inch, yes.
I'll second.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was 13. I stand corrected. I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Doug? And Alan seconded.
Doug, Alan. Okay. Trudy?
Claudia?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Tracy Ellen?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yeah.
Al?
Yes. That brings us to old business, new business.
I have business.
You have business.
So we had here what we call Janet Law teams, right?
Correct.
Right, yeah. When we were in Atlantic City and trolling the floor of all the vendors, we came across this vendor that does this mobile rescue system unit. Now,
They're
this
the
is like
best.
the Mac Daddy of systems, and I would never be saying this is what we do, but they have little kind of like stop the bleed kind of pack systems that you can go
Hook
to an
up to
app.
your cell phone.
And you can do an app on your cell phone, and they can walk somebody through how they use the items in that pack to help somebody who's injured. And if you don't have the item because you have the smaller pack as opposed to this big system, then they'll tell you like what you could, take a kitchen towel, what you could use from what you have. So it sounded like amazing to have as emergency systems more widespread within the school district, so I'm
For trips where
Right.
you might not have a
Can you
trainer.
pass
Yes,
it
yes,
down
yes.
to your BA? Maybe you can research that, Trudy?
so not that big one that they're on, the smaller systems, Trudy, not
She
the
likes
big
the
one.
idea, not the product.
Well, no, the product was
Well-
amazing, but I'm not recommending, I'm not suggesting that.
We did not ask how much that product cost.
Right. I don't think they would have told us anyway. But they had smaller ones that I really could see the value in, especially because it was attached to an app that you could then walk you through it. Right,
Well, you could show the trainer something like that, and she can give us feedback as to whether or not it would be a useful tool for the buildings.
It's a great, I use it with my job. Zoll is great, they're amazing. I use it upstairs and in my ADC and my recovery program. And it walks you through any emergency. I mean, granted, no matter what, everybody's picking up the phone and calling the nurse anyway, but at the time,
There's
it's
always
just,
that time in between.
it's that time in between before I can get upstairs or something. So it's a valuable company. And I have the big pack and I really like the big pack.
But if anybody's ever, gone to a sporting event.
Yes.
Especially away,
Yeah.
when there isn't the Ange Mobile to come down.
Right,
Especially
yeah.
away, and yes, our athletic staff have first aid kits, but this is really a way for them to utilize. And of course, places that we go, they tend to have but like, maybe their facilities are not set up in such a way that,
I was just
yeah.
gonna say, a lot of times you have a trainer, but you have 4 different sports going on at the same time.
I mean, if you've been
so-
to a wrestling tournament, there's not enough trainers for the issues that occur. So it's just it'd be something worth looking into.
Just piggybacking on the Janet Law also training, beyond the group that we've designated, do we currently have a requirement that the coaching staff for each of the sports have to be certified?
I believe we do.
I don't remember.
I don't know that we do, we don't have the.
Okay. If we don't, we should.
I want to say it's part of the, I want to say it's part of
It's
them.
part of the
It's part of the
Okay. That they have
NGSIAA.
to, okay.
I believe
Just
it
curious,
was. Because I believe when Dennis was here, we were
Concussions.
asking him a
That,
couple of
that
those
could very well,
questions.
that's why I just don't remember if.
Just
And
to
if not-
piggyback off of that, look
Lot
at
of
us
piggybacking
being
tonight.
chatty tonight. I wonder if the same protocol applies to the assistant coaches and our volunteer coaches.
I'm sure not our
I
volunteers.
don't believe, I don't believe so.
But anyone who's like a paid coach.
Right.
Should come under that NJSIA.
I will say though,
Whatever,
for town, if you're involved in a town sport, for any of
have
the
to.
rec leagues, you are required to be
Right.
certified.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why I'm asking, because believe it or not, I was a cheer coach, of all things.
I believe it.
And I had to be certified for that, and it was not a paid,
We'll get the information.
yeah.
Alan has.
Oh, some
Yes,
other
Al.
piggyback.
I'm sure everybody heard about it, but 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, it was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal about AI and the fake news of the teens that shook up Westfield High School. And the main thing in this article is that most schools, there's really no policy yet on how to deal with something like this. So, I'll give this to Trudy. She can scan it and send it to everybody, but I think we should be looking at a policy here
Good idea.
before we, get caught, because AI is something fresh and new, and
It's being brought up at board level, it's being brought up at the superintendent level as well, to reach out to, they have been reaching out to policy-making companies. We use New Jersey school boards, a number of districts use Strauss-Esme, looking for the same information you're looking for. Any infractions that would involve AI or anything would be covered in our code of conduct, so we have that, but specifically AI, no, there is no policy.
I feel sorry for these girls, because no matter
We all
what,
do, yes.
it's going to be on there for the rest of their, So, just like everything else, it's good in one aspect, but,
It's hard to stay ahead, but you're right.
That particular thing, though, would probably come under our policies as related to whether or not it was an actual photograph or an AI photograph, because it's the distribution, that's really where you get into the, the policy, not necessarily the creation of an actual photograph or the AI.
And
that
it
was-
crosses over into potential HIB violations
Right,
as well.
and so we do have policies as
Yeah.
related to that, but AI has so many different aspects that,
Yes,
the policies around it are gonna have to address
Yeah,
the
academic integrity.
academic, right, correct.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Old, new business? Okay, we want to get into a board discussion on the referendum.
Okay. Oh.
Somebody, Claudia?
Does anybody have the Genesis, the Sign Up Genius, available to them? Because I can't seem to get mine. Just want to know, did I put myself down for Friday? I just want to make sure.
I can check for you.
Thank
I think
you.
you did, though.
I think I did Friday and Sunday, right? I think okay.
You signed up for everything.
I did not sign up for everything.
I'm not sure I went back in, I was like, this looks really good, and I was like, I'll go back,
But I
and
could
I'm not
trick
sure I
her.
ever went back.
I was going to make the point to
I was about to say,
you.
would you mind just sending out?
Is that all for
what
you?
everyone signed up for?
What's that?
Dr. Alvo, just tell her she signed
Yeah,
up for everything.
I'm like, oh,
You
God.
can go back in
No, I
and
was
you'll
in
see
Italy,
it.
and I was drinking a lot of wine that
You
night,
can
and I was like,
Yes, yes,
you're not
yes.
you. I get you. And then I'm sitting on the plane, and I'm like, I don't know what I
starting
signed
tomorrow,
up
you
for.
have no life.
I know. I'm like, I don't know what I
Wait,
signed
you
up
deleted
for.
the link?
Do we have a count for Sunday?
Sign Up Genius.
I'm gonna
and
be
the
here
link
on
will come
Sunday.
up.
Now, I know
And it's
Sunday.
deleted.
It's just
Even
Friday.
I know that
There's
from
at least
time.
4 of us going to be there?
Yeah.
Do we want, can you have more than that?
You can, you're not discussing board
Okay.
business, you're not making
So
decisions.
you will have at least 4 people there Sunday, if anyone else.
Just be on
is
different
available.
sides of the room and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left wing, right wing.
We're
And
just
I
early
believe
for the
we have
show.
about 30 students that are
Yes, believe me, the students were very excited to do something with this. So I'll be meeting with them later in the week to go over what their role is going to be as well.
And I think the public will be very happy to see the video that you're planning to, Dr. Albro is planning a video where the principals will bring them to the rooms that we spoke about that need renovations. So you can actually see these rooms and what they look like now. And we can only give renditions as to what they're going to look like, as Frank, the architect, mentioned. But it'll give you a good bird's eye view of some of the areas that we are proposing on the referendum. I think that'll go a long way to help.
I would agree.
Go ahead.
11-6. I guess it should be you to contact the town of Oradell to use the electronic sign at the bottom of Oradell Avenue to just advertise, get out and vote on December 12th. It's very effective when you come down Oradell Avenue before the election.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm ignoring that comment.
Trudy, I'm sure I could have one here in a hot minute.
Judy, now, stand and we're
Does
standing tall.
River Ridge have one
Sure, I'm gonna come back.
in front of the police station?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so we should
Both
have
towns.
Shut down.
It's what?
It's, our
The
sign
way
is
you
shut
said
down.
it, shut down.
It's
Oh,
shut down.
they're
It's
working
our-
on the building, so I'm not sure the
building
sign's
is-
shut
The
down.
building is
Right.
shut down, so the sign is shut down, like you can't use the sign. I'd have to use something else.
I'll reach out.
So-
Yeah, town hall, yeah.
Yeah, they've all been scattered all over town in
Yeah.
different places.
So, yeah, so the sign.
I went to find out where the building department was. It's now at the train station.
Yeah.
Oh.
Our
Okay.
train station?
Yeah.
Interesting, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
At the little.
In the hut?
house.
In that little hut.
The little hut.
In the little trees.
In the hut?
Used to be the shade tree.
How long is
But
this
the best.
for? How long is this for? How
it's
long
gonna
will they
be a
be
while.
displaced for?
Oh, God,
Couple of
it's gotta be
years.
9 months.
It's gonna be a
Beyond.
couple more years.
You think?
Wow.
No.
Okay.
All right, back on top.
Wait. Did you get the sign up, Junior,
I
something?
have it, yes.
Can you check, am I Friday, please?
Say yes.
No, when somebody
You are-
goes on
You are
that.
Friday with me.
I am, right?
Yes.
And then I'm Sunday, right?
Uh,
I did this when I was drinking wine in Italy, so it wasn't my brightest moment.
You are Sunday also.
Okay,
given
thank
that.
you.
So I don't have to do that now. I don't have
Okay,
to check for you.
yes, thank you.
It's all
Trying to take
Wow.
work
all
off.
day.
By the way, Sign Up Genius usually reminds you.
I know,
that
but I
it's
can't,
Could
I
you
don't know
remind
what.
me, what is Friday?
The
Friday is the play.
Oh, okay.
You're not-
Oh my
you are-
God.
you're not.
It's getting
the
late.
17th.
I'm going Sunday.
You're going
It's the
Sunday.
Yeah,
17th.
so I don't want to get spoiled. Okay. I knew there was a reason. And does anybody else have anything on the referendum? Okay. Yeah, public comments. I see we do have some people in the public, so if you'd like, please stand up and go to the microphone, state your name and town you live from, and you have 3 minutes to speak. You
You
could,
can take
you
it
can turn
off,
it.
you
you
could
can
face
twist
us.
it around, whatever
Sorry.
works.
Both my kids are exhausted today. Yesterday was Diwali. We had prayers till 3:30 in the night. Avish, my son in 9th grade, literally said, I'm going to sleep in my English class. Avni came home at 3:30 after her band. After school, she's been sleeping throughout. She doesn't have fever. She's exhausted. She said, I'm skipping school tomorrow. So either I could have made them skip school today for Diwali, or they would skip school anyways tomorrow because they're totally exhausted. It was Diwali night yesterday. I'm Preeti Dhariwal. I represent my friends Akhil and Jennifer and the American Indian community in River Edge and Oradell towns. We would like to request Diwali as a holiday in the Riverdale School District calendar and no homework weekend in 2024-25 school year. Coming year, Diwali will fall on Friday, November 1, 2024. Avni actually wanted to come to she's part of student government. And she said, Mom, I would come with you and speak 2 lines on how important Diwali is to me and how nice it would be to have a holiday on Diwali. It would be a welcome change for families whose kids were marked absent from school to celebrate this year and those whose kids missed some of the celebrations to be in the school.
It is so important to preserve the culture as an immigrant. Our kids and we as citizens here in America is our home, but we want our kids to feel a sense of pride from where their origins and their ancestors come from. Having Diwali as a school holiday would mean that we are truly an equal part of the community here. It's an excused absence, so why do we need it a day off? It's an excused absence in the sense that everybody else is going to be there that day, Mom. Kids, I will miss schoolwork, and it is very hard for me to cope up. That's what she said. She did not want to miss high school. Why do we need Diwali as a no homework weekend? Or could we just have that day instead a day off? Well, having a no homework weekend will also help our kids celebrate the holiday, enjoy the rituals, and be with their families, instead of worrying about homework. It's a 5-day festival. We are only requesting a day off to honor as a school holiday. Diwali is one holiday that celebrates across faiths, across India, that all the faiths celebrate. It's about time the Riverdale School District has a day off, the population is there. We have a petition signed by almost 250 plus residents requesting this as a holiday and no homework weekend. Riverdale Indian Association, represented by Akhil and Jennifer and me, was not only recognized by River Edge Mayor, but also by Senate and Assembly recently when they came over for our Diwali event, giving us a citation stating the achievement we've had in preserving the Indian culture and heritage in Bergen County. Thank you.
Thank
you. Happy Diwali. Also, I want to point out that the previous year, this year the main day was on a Sunday, but the 2022 year, there were 25 school districts across New Jersey that did have the holiday off, and New York City as well, including the nearby towns in Bergen County of Paramus, Fairlawn, Glen Rock, Ridgewood, and a single session day in Englewood Cliffs. River Edge is demographically similar to these nearby towns. So I do think that the trend is going this way, and that's just something that you could consider.
Hello, I'm Susan Garcia from Oradell, and I just wanted to thank the board for allowing the Spain trip to go forward. Last month I spoke in advocating for all trips, international and domestic. I think we all know the benefits of them. I just want to point out, one of the board members said, every parent makes the cost-benefit analysis. There's always a risk. There's a risk to sending our kids to school every day. There's a risk to playing sports. There's a risk to getting on a school bus. Paramus still has school buses, still has class trips, even with the accident that they had, the tragedy a few years ago, because they understand that the benefit is worth the risk. And I just want to distinguish it from the gentleman who mentioned that his work suspended his trip. In that case, it is an employer making a trip as an obligation of their employment. Sending an employee and forcing them or requiring them to attend a meeting is very different than giving parents that choice of whether to send their kids or not. So I just wanted to make that distinction. But ultimately, thank you. And I know the kids will be very happy.
Anybody else in the public want to take the microphone? May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
And Stephanie, second. All in favor?
Aye.
9:58.